When you talk about a focus on the community and doing things because they're the right thing to do, his group, and it's worth a shot. Check out their website. The Capital Good Fund, is essentially replacing payday lending with microloans, economic education, and alternative financing advice to a group that's completely underserved, which is, the working poor here in the state.
Well, they also do a lot of funding of small startups, internet businesses. This is small business funding on the micro level. And, even a lot of major banks and even local credit unions won't touch those investments these days. When you go to a bank and say, look, I need a couple of $1,000s to start my business, they're like, I don't know. We don't really work in numbers that size,
Right.
So here's this nonprofit out there. And when I say nonprofit, folks, the higher ups at this place are not making money hand over fist like many other nonprofits out there.
They're truly doing the work of the Lord. And then you talk about DARE. Fred Ordonez has been on the show, and a lot of attention is paid to DARE because of their what they call their actions, their civilly disobedient protests, if you will. But at the same time, and we've got the podcast up, and we hope you'll give a listen to it. They are involved in prison reform, education, legal advice. I mean, they are doing work all over the community that goes largely unnoticed by the conventional media. And without them, without both groups, we would literally be a poorer place. So they need to be recognized. Again, now you've got some of the mainstream politicos. You've got the Progressive Democrat Association and the RAGOP. Now you can disagree with their politics. You can certainly take issue with any one of the stands that either group takes if you so choose. But at the same time, these are folks who are committed to the community. They may have different visions. The vision of this radio show all along has been that essentially politics and political beliefs are a circle, and that we are far closer and far higher agreement on most issues than most would allow us to believe, particularly the vested interests who so dominate this state. They have spent generations discouraging us, encouraging, if you will, political hatred, political division between these groups, because if we are balkanized, if we are smattered across the state without any sense of community between these groups, then there is effectively no opposition to the type of philosophical, financial, moral atrocities that are perpetrated on the citizens of Rhode Island on a regular basis. So all of a sudden, if there is a godsend, if there's a bright, shining moment to come out of this, it's the realization by many of these groups is that we all want the same things.
We want the destination is the same. We may disagree on the route to get there, but the destination is the same, and that is a prosperous Rhode Island for everyone.
Right, where your children, regardless of your economic background, can go to good schools and have an opportunity to realize their talents and realize their dreams. A Rhode Island that is safe. A Rhode Island where you have a fair taxing structure that's fair to all. A Rhode Island where simply you can actually go afford to enjoy those beaches that the elite tell us that our negativity seems to ignore. A Federal Hill or a downtown Providence that all of us can afford to enjoy, that we don't have to sit idly by and watch the elite, the true 1% of this state, take and utilize for their own personal self-aggrandizement.
Right, and they stand and tell us, let them eat cake.
Literally, let them eat cake. And I know we've got a special friend of the show that I think is going to be showing up with cake on Monday afternoon. So it's ultimately, we all have the same hopes and dreams. It's all about family. It's all about loved ones and friends. But it's time to put aside a lot of the differences, a lot of the process issues, a lot of the, I'll call it the baggage and legacy of having been poor and abused by the system of Rhode Island. Putting away the conventional beliefs that, we have to adhere to this mainstream Democratic Party in this state. Because there are so many solutions. There are, you've got an active Green Party in this state. The Progressive Democrats are all over the place. The Rhode Island GOP is in the process of rebuilding. The Libertarian Party. There are political solutions outside of this one group that has so thoroughly dominated life in Rhode Island for 3 generations.
Yeah, and I think as somebody who considers themselves a part of the progressive community, I don't. I don't necessarily line up with every progressive stance out there. I think of myself as more of a green libertarian than anything else. But I think a real eye-opener for folks in this state, if they're paying attention here, is, you can rant and rave about how the quote progressive Democrats have ruined this state, but I can tell you right now, find me one state representative that's willing to go on the record and self-identify as a progressive. It's not the progressive Democrats that have ruined this state. It's the old boy, crony, pinky ring wearing Democrats that are basically out there to either feed their own egos or feed their own lifestyles, and that's all they're in it for. I mean, you look at this story a while back about Mattiello's campaign funds and all these thank you dinners, and this is a normal thing that we do. And granted, it's not it's legal what he does, but is it the right thing to do? If I was a campaign donor of his and I saw that he was spending $36 at a sit down at the Capitol Grill and telling me that was some type of fundraiser or meeting or something. That's $36 at the Capitol Grill. That's your lunch. Thank you, campaign donors. You just bought my lunch. And I think that is an egregious misuse of those funds. And this Mattiello is certainly no progressive Democrat.
Let's go over in the last few minutes that we have in the show the issues at stake here in the stadium. The first, of course, is the fact that they believe that they should not have to pay taxes to the city of Providence for the 30-year span of this agreement. Now, the city of Providence is also going through its own budgetary issues this week. And to say that they are broke, now, how they got to be broke, why they are broke, let's put that behind us. Let's start from scratch. They're broke. Does the city of Providence have the ability, Dave, to put aside some of the most prime acreage in the city's history aside for an entertainment venue?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
All right.
So one of the things that I think, regardless of people's knee-jerk reaction to this, whether it be completely against it because it involves state subsidies, it's really important to get to the information behind this. And I'm going to urge our listeners, urge anybody who downloads the podcast, you have to find Google, just go to Google and Google Victor Matheson, Matheson, sports stadiums. And he and a fellow by the name of Beatty, Matheson is a sports economist at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. When I tell you an exhaustive study of subsidized stadiums across the United States, I mean, dozens upon dozens upon dozens, stadium moves, new stadiums, stadium renovations, everything from baseball, football, soccer stadiums, you name it. It's all in there. And at the end of the day, the conclusion is the economic impact of these things is little to none.
Right.
Now, the argument can be made that there's an amenity factor of that. Now, would a ballpark in downtown Providence be an amenity for the city of Providence? Of course it would. But that's not how this is being sold to us as taxpayers. How it's being sold to us is the great economic boon of moving a couple of hundred seasonal jobs 6 miles down the road at the cost of $120 million over 30 years and 0% property tax.
Right. And ultimately, we can disagree or agree to disagree on what the final purpose of the land was. But the original purpose was out of the I-195 redevelopment, which was paid for by taxpayers both on a state and federal level, was to move a highway, create a structurally sound highway, a bridge, and at the same time free up land for economic development. And this is we're going to close the show on what my pet peeve about all this is. Governor Gina Raimondo was elected just months ago. As governor and the CEO of this state, it is her responsibility, I believe, to become intimately involved in the negotiations necessary to create whatever structure necessary to create a business opportunity there that will result in true economic development. Now, I understand we've got this Commerce Corporation, which is the litany of failure is unrelenting. I mean, for a generation, they've literally crucified the state. And
changing the name from EDC to Commerce Corporation was not the industrial strength turd polish that they thought it would be.
Right. So, Gina Raimondo, if you're listening, or one of your advisors listening, you were elected governor. It's time for you to go out and personally represent this state. Draw on the connections of Brown University, Rhode Island School of Design, whatever necessary, to personally negotiate a deal with any one of a half a dozen major corporations for whom a $200 to $500 million investment would be de minimis, meaningless to them. But at the same time, bringing the economic opportunities to this state that we so justly need and we so justly deserve. Go out to the Googles of the world, go out to the IBMs of the world, whomever, whatever, but bring them into this state and make it your personal mission. It's not Stephen Pryor's job. It's not our job. It's your job, Governor Raimondo. You have the talent. You have the background to do it. Let's get it done. You've been listening to The Coalition on AM 790, your source for news business. Join us next week, 6:30 a.m. at 6 o'clock p.m. at The Coalition Talk Radio, Facebook.com/Coalition Radio, Coalition_radio on the mighty, mighty Twitter. Folks, have a great week. Hope to see you on Monday. If not, keep the calls and emails rolling. Thank you.
AM 790 Talkin' Business. Imus in the morning. Yankees baseball. Great local business talk. WPRV Providence. A Cumulus station.